Okay, we're picking back up with Arthropoda. Arthropoda is a very large phylum of organisms in Animalia, probably the most numerous animals. Arthropoda includes a staggering diversity of organisms. Those are the insects, crustaceans, arachnids, and millipedes and centipedes. These are some pretty cool organisms. They all show bilateral tissue or bilateral symmetry, three types of tissues. They're coelomates, meaning they have the body cavity, and there's connective tissue along the wall of the body cavity and along all of the organs inside the body cavity. They have a complete digestive tract from the tip of the head to the end of the tail, and their general features include segmented bodies, but not nearly as segmented as the annelids. In this case, the largest number of segments we see are in the Diplopoda and Chilopoda, the centipedes and millipedes. Even then, the majority of arthropods are characterized by like insects, crustaceans, arachnids, and insects have three body segments. You know, three segments to their whole body. Arachnids have two segments. So you can see a large number of segments in centipedes and millipedes, but for the majority of arthropods, you've got drastically fewer segments. They also have segmented appendages, meaning that their limbs have joints. Segmented appendages, jointed limbs. When you look at their legs, there's going to be more than one joint to it so that they can bend in multiple places. You've ever looked at a lobster or an insect or an arachnid. They all have an exoskeleton, which is a hard chitinous shell. So basically, the outer layer of an arthropod contains a lot of chitin. And chitin, when exposed to salt and I think oxygen and calcium, can harden. And it hardens into sort of a crunchy, crispy shell. It's not a shell like in clams. Rather, it is the outer layer of their body. So they're the outer surface, whereas our skin is soft, insect skin has chitin in it, and so it makes a chitinous shell. And so this is the exoskeleton, and the muscles of the arthropod attach to the exoskeleton. So exo means outside, meaning their skeleton is on the outside of their body. The skeleton is the support structure for an organism. So animals that have skeletons, the skeleton is generally for support, helping the body maintain its shape, helping the body stand on limbs and everything like that. And muscles tend to attach to the support structure. In arthropods, muscles attach to the exoskeleton. So if you remove exoskeleton, you're ripping away muscles as well. However, since an insect has this hard shell, the chitinous exoskeleton, that doesn't give, it's this nice protective armor, it cannot grow in size easily. Once that exoskeleton hardens, it can't expand. It works very well as armor, but imagine that you're wearing a suit of armor, right? Just someone attaches a suit of metal armor all over your body, and then you eat about 1,500 hamburgers. How well are you going to fit into that armor anymore? You're going to kind of expand. And that armor, metal armor, it doesn't expand with you. So when an insect needs to grow larger, when any arthropod needs to grow larger, it molts. What that means is they break open their exoskeleton and they crawl out of it. And then they sort of get a little bit larger, and then the outer layer of their skin rehardens. So every time they molt, they're very soft and vulnerable. But that is how they get bigger, because armor doesn't grow with you. It just protects the size that you are. So when an arthropod molts, it sheds its exoskeleton. And here we go. This is a sped up image of a crab molting. And there's that joint, and it has broken open that joint, and it's pulling out of its body, just like that. And it's very soft right now, and it's going to allow it to get a little bit bigger. And then all of that soft chitin, as it's exposed to the salt and the calcium in the water around it, will harden into a shell. So, it's kind of neat. All arthropods molt. All right, class Arachnida is the first class we're looking at. The arachnids are 8-legged creatures. They are scorpions, spiders, ticks, and mites. They have 4 pairs of walking legs. 4 pairs of walking legs, so 8 legs. And then they have a specialized pair of feeding appendages. And then in spiders and scorpions, those are fangs. And they can pierce the prey and inject digestive fluids and enzymes and even poisonous toxins, depending on the species. All arachnids have 2 body segments. The cephalothorax, which is sort of the head and part of the body where all the legs attach, and it's fused together into one chunk. And then the abdomen, which is the big round butt end. So, the top 2 pictures are actually spiders from my apartment. I found this one in the hallway outside of my apartment. She's got a big, nice, large abdomen here. This was a black widow. And then you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs of walking legs on either side. And then as a black widow, she has a particularly strong venom. So if we hadn't have been very careful, she could have sent us to the hospital. But we were very careful, and we captured her and took a bunch of pictures and examined her and pissed her off. And then we released her in Bible Park. So if you live out near there, know that there's a black widow out there somewhere. And then these are the jumping spiders we keep in our apartment. We let them have free range. If they want to hang out, they are more than welcome to hang out, because jumping spiders eat pests. But again, 1, 2, 3, 4 legs. And then this is the abdomen here. And then here's the cephalothorax. And I really like this picture because you can actually see some of this jumping spider's eyes here, which are very cool. And arthropods have compound eyes, meaning that each one of these things is not an eye like yours or mine that moves around easily. In fact, they're fused in place. But if you were to look at them, they have little facets all around them. So it's almost, you remember in the viruses when we talked about the D20 having 20 sides and it was vaguely round. Well, imagine something with, hundreds of sides. And so there's tons of tiny little flat surfaces that connect together to make a dome-shaped eye. And that is actually the lens of the eye, and it can focus images from any of those facets. So arthropods tend to have really, really good range of vision. They can see all around them quite well. And these 2 eyes up front are quite helpful in a jumping spider's ability to measure depth. And then here's a scorpion. All these cool little facts I'm telling you about these classes are not tested. They're just neat. Here's a scorpion right here with his big angry claws up front. And then here's his cephalothorax, the head here, and then the body. And then the abdomen is actually modified starting here, and it's jointed and has a stinger. So scorpions have a tail that can deliver venom and digestive enzymes into their prey. So they hunt by grabbing onto their prey with their large claws and holding the prey still. and then piercing the prey with their tail, their stinger at their tail, and killing it with the venom, and then eating it from there. And then this, of course, is a tick. So this is a tick. Again, we can see our 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs of walking legs. Its feeding appendages are actually modified in most ticks. They're modified for the ability to penetrate a host's skin and suck blood. Most ticks are parasitic. I'm not going to say all because I don't know of all tick species, but all the tick species I know of are parasitic. So this is a female. Females are very big, and she will, when she eats, swell up to 3 times that size. Her abdomen will swell up with her blood meal. And then over here in the bottom right is a microscopic image of mites. And these are, I wish I could remember the scientific name, but I don't. They're the human itch mite. This is a particular species of mite that will actually burrow into your skin and cause redness and inflammation as it eats your own skin, creates little tunnels in there, and lays eggs and lives out its life in your skin. So most mites are not parasitic. The majority of mite species that we know of are generally inhabiting their own microscopic ecosystem, and they eat. They're generally decomposers, so they eat dead and dying material and recycle it. So mites are nothing to be afraid of, but I thought I'd just throw in something icky because sure. And here's some images to rehabilitate spiders. Just because spiders are actually adorable and they're your friend because they kill pests. So this is the peacock spider doing a little mating display. Peacock jumping spider. You should check it out. It's adorable and it's tiny. And then here's another jumping spider displaying towards its image in the mirror because all it sees is a rival spider. And so it's doing some kind of display. And then here's a picture to show just how pretty jumping spiders can be up top right. And then here's an adorable little spider burying himself in sand because he's afraid of everything. He's so cute. He's such adorable little spiders. And of course, here's a good pun. All right. Enough of class Arachnida. Now it's time for class Crustacea. Class Crustacea includes the crabs, shrimp, lobster, crayfish, barnacles, and even roly-polies. Roly-polies that you see running around are crustaceans. We call them isopod crustaceans. Pretty cool. Nearly all crustaceans are aquatic. And a large number are marine. They live in saltwater. They tend to have varying numbers of paired legs. They don't have, just 4 paired legs or 3 paired legs. It varies species to species. You can get a large number of legs depending on the particular species. And they have a large number of complex mouth parts. And they have 3 full body segments: a head, a thorax, and an abdomen. So these are the 3 basic body segments. Whereas in the arachnids, the head and the thorax were all one fused body segment called the cephalothorax. Cephalo, if you remember from our talk on mollusks, it's a Latin prefix that means head. So arachnids have the head thorax, the cephalothorax fused together. So in crustaceans, it's a head and a thorax separated, and then a separate abdomen. So here are a bunch of crustaceans, and they're pretty darn cool to look at. This is an isopod crustacean, a rare terrestrial crustacean, a good old roly-poly, and as you can see, a large number of little walking legs. Here's 2 different kinds of crabs, one showing you just how big they can get. So that's pretty cool. They get very large, and they can live extraordinarily long amounts of time. In general, the larger the lobster, the older the lobster. And it's not uncommon to find lobsters that are 100, 200 years old. So They're lobsters that date back to the Revolutionary War era, which is pretty cool. In fact, your clam chowder may include clams that are 500 years old. So, that's kind of depressing that there's an organism that may live for hundreds and hundreds of years, growing ever larger, and then eventually someone comes along and says, "I'll bet that tastes good in soup," and kills it and eats it. And here's a lobster right here, a particularly attractive looking lobster. Here's another lobster, and then this is a mantis shrimp with its psychedelic coloring and its ability to snap its claws shut fast enough to emit light and heat, and they basically cook their prey by getting close enough and then snapping their claws shut super fast that they create a superheated bubble in front of them that collapses and then cooks the food in front of them. They shoot essentially a laser. It emits light even. And then here's a bunch of little hermit crabs because they're adorable. So that's Crustacea. Next up is Diplopoda and Chilopoda. These are two separate classes, class Diplopoda and class Chilopoda. I throw them in here together because they have some superficial resemblances. They are the millipedes and centipedes. They have a large number of repeating segments. Instead of just 3 or 2, you can get more than 10, more than 20, hundreds, depending on the species. Millipedes, class Diplopoda, each segment has 2 pairs of legs. Millipedes are all non-venomous, and they are herbivores, which means they eat plants. So they are important decomposers in their environment. They'll eat dead plant material and help create soil. Millipedes are your friend. Centipedes are class Chilopoda, and each segment has 1 pair of legs, and these are voracious carnivores. They are predators, often top-tier predators in their own micro-ecosystem until you just get a little bit larger, and then there's a huge variety of animals that eat them. But anyway, centipedes are particularly dangerous carnivores. They can move very fast, and they have fangs that inject venom into their prey. So centipedes can deliver a very nasty bite. Millipedes are harmless with little grinding mouth parts that can't actually break your skin. Centipedes can deliver a venomous bite that can cause some pain, and depending on the species could, send you to the doctor, even the hospital. But for the most part, centipedes are your friend. The common house centipede is an animal you will never see in general. It's nocturnal. It is deathly afraid of you because, let's face it, you're gigantic. It wants nothing to do with you. It doesn't even want to bite you. But it will run around your house and eat it'll eat flies, it'll eat pests, it'll eat roaches, it'll eat all the bugs you don't want in your food. Centipedes won't touch your food, and they'll eat all the things that will make your food go bad. So centipedes are your friend. They are important to every ecosystem in which they live. So do not kill them, respect them. So on the left side here, we have 2 different millipedes, and you can see large numbers of segments. And if we were to look close enough, each segment has 2 legs on a side. And so that's, 1 pair, 2 pairs per segment. And so you can see that. And they're just generally adorable. As you've seen in class, we have some millipedes. Then here on the right are centipedes. And as you can see, they've only got 1 pair of walking legs per segment. But they do have these very nasty fangs here, capable of delivering their venomous bite to immobilize and kill their prey. So, both extremely important for a healthy ecosystem. And centipedes are ones that you don't want to pet them. But if given a choice between the 2 of them, I'd take the centipede in my house because, well, there's nothing in my house for a millipede to eat, and except for houseplants, which I don't want them eating. And centipedes are probably already in my house anyway. I just don't see them. And they eat pests. So, hooray, centipedes. Next up comes class Insecta. Class Insecta. So this is one of the most numerous species of arthropod there is. Class of arthropods there is. The just sheer diversity in class Insecta is staggering to imagine. We have not found even the majority of insect species on the planet. We found a relatively small percentage of insect species, and what we have found is vast. All insects have 3 pairs of legs. They have 6 legs. They have 3 body segments: head, thorax, abdomen. And then they have a pair of antennae for sensing, and they have a single pair of compound eyes for sensing light. So the antennae are generally good at sensing vibrations in the air, and then they're also good at chemoception, sensing chemicals around them. And then their eyes can sense light. Depending on the type of insect, they can have very well developed eyes that are very good at determining details around them. And their legs even can sense vibrations in the ground. And all insects have wings, whether they're functional or not. Not all insects can fly, but all insects have wings of some kind. They may be fused to their body depending on the kind, so it just depends on the particular insect. And then insects are highly adapted to nearly every habitat and niche you can find on Earth. If you can find a habitat and a niche, you're probably going to find some insects. There are herbivores, carnivores, detritivores that eat waste. Many undergo metamorphosis, which is where when they hatch, they're in what we call a larval stage. You know this from butterflies. A butterfly egg hatches a caterpillar. A caterpillar is a butterfly larvae. And then the larvae eat and eat and eat and avoid getting eaten until they have enough energy that they can build a cocoon of some sort. And most insects build a cocoon of some sort. And the larval stage is often a worm-like body. Caterpillars and maggots. Caterpillars for butterflies and moths. Maggots for flies. And they build a cocoon. And inside the cocoon, their bodies develop into their adult stage, which would be the butterfly or fly. And you know what? Give me a second here. I actually found a cocoon on the floor today. Kind of hard to see in my hand there. Little brown thing. Oh. And it just sits around and it presents a mystery. And I don't know what it's going to develop into, but it's alive. Because when I grab it, its little tail moves around. It's adorable. I'm going to put it back so it doesn't stress out too much. Hopefully it'll survive. And I'll get to see what it becomes. I've got 2 of them over here in this potted plant, or the remains of that potted plant. Maybe it'll be a butterfly or a moth or something cool. I don't know. I'll just have to find out. So, beetles are another kind of organism that have a larval stage. So, butterflies, beetles, flies, they all have larval stages and undergo metamorphosis. So, insects can be used for medicinal purposes. Maggots have been approved by the FDA for medicinal use. Yes, maggots. What could you possibly want maggots for? Ugh, I mean, come on, man. They eat human flesh. Oh, wait. I forgot. That's what you want maggots for. Because maggots do eat human flesh. But there's an important modifier in there. Maggots only eat dead flesh. In fact, Maggots have been shown to be extremely effective at keeping wounds cleaned up of dead tissue. If you pack a surgical wound with some maggots, they will dedicatedly consume the dead tissue, which is hugely important because dead tissue is a major vector for disease, right? Bacteria, there are large numbers of pathogenic bacterial species that cause disease, and they live off of dead tissue. So you pack a surgical wound with maggots and they'll eat the dead tissue and prevent that from becoming a breeding ground for infection. Maggots eating your wound prevents infection, and that will speed up your healing. Note, these aren't parasitic maggots that burrow into your skin. There are parasitic maggots. The botfly, if you want to go ahead and look that up online, BOTFLY, the botfly, that's pretty disgusting. But the maggots they use in medicinal purposes are not botfly. They're regular old flies, and they are incredibly useful. So they can keep wounds cleaner than even modern surgical tools. So modern antiseptics and tools that we use to clean wounds don't work as well as maggots. And that can increase recovery time from wounds and reduce infections post-operative. So maggots are hugely important. So the next time you have surgery, ask for maggots. That's right. Maggots and leeches, helping you recover like it's $10.99. Agricultural. That was, $10.99 the year of medieval times when they used bleeding. Okay, leave me alone. Agricultural uses for insects. Insects are responsible for the majority of pollination on Earth. Pollination is the breeding of plants. Pollen is a plant sperm. And most plants rely on insects to come and feed upon the nectar of their flowers and gather pollen up, and then move to another flower and deliver the pollen to that other flower so that they can breed. Without insects, most plants can't pollinate. Most plants cannot reproduce. So both agricultural and ornamental plants. Many plants would in fact go extinct without insects. This is important with respect to bees. One of the biggest problems around these days is colony collapse disorder. Colony collapse disorder is killing bee colonies. It causes, for reasons that scientists are becoming more and more aware of and are related to a popular pesticide and a popular fungal treatment, or a popular pesticide making bees susceptible to a particular fungus. It causes bee colonies to just completely die. The colony collapses. And when those bees die, the area loses a large number of pollinators. Without those pollinators, your crop production goes down. So here's some pictures of insects just to show you the vast variety of insects in the world here. These are, here's a wasp, here's a bee right here. Here's some praying mantises, one of my favorite type of insects, a voracious predator. Here's the dragonfly, another awesome predator. Dragonflies are often called mosquito hawks. The dragonfly lives only for a few days in the summer when it breeds. But in that time, they will consume tens of thousands of mosquitoes. So they're fantastic at pest control. Unless, of course, you've got a pond that is not healthy, is not a healthy ecosystem. In which case you may not have dragonflies, in which case it may just be a mosquito breeding ground, which sucks. So then there's a large variety of beetles, moths, butterflies. Insects are just amazingly diverse. Here's a butterfly. And here's metamorphosis in the cicada. So it's molting and going from a non-winged larvae to a winged adult. That's an adult cicada there. Then here's a dragonfly larvae. And as you can see, it molts out of its non-winged larval stage, which actually happens to be aquatic, and then becomes an adult. So this larvae actually will crawl up the stem of an aquatic plant and then harden and allow the adult to come out. And then here's a colony of bees, one of the most important pollinators on the continents in which they're found, which is every continent except Antarctica. And here's butterflies, which are also another important pollinator. So, insects, incredibly important to the world around us. And then we have phylum Echinodermata. So we're out of Arthropoda. Done. Over with. Now we're into phylum Echinodermata. Echinodermata is a short phylum, really. That's because it consists of starfish, sea urchins, sea cucumbers, and sand dollars. So that is the echinoderms. They show radial symmetry, the only organisms aside from the cnidarians, which is kind of interesting. However, it's the adults that show radial symmetry. Larvae show bilateral symmetry, which is kind of interesting. They have a larval life stage, which is bilaterally symmetrical, and then they metamorphose into their adult stage, which shows radial symmetry. They have 3 full tissue layers. They're coelomates, and they have a complete digestive system. And for the first time in the animal world, we see the appearance of the endoskeleton, the skeletal support structure on the inside. But this is not bones. So it is internal support, but it is not bones like ours. We have an endoskeleton because we're vertebrates, meaning we have bones. But echinoderms have hard mineralized plates beneath their skin. So they have soft skin, and then beneath the skin they have hard mineralized plates. And onto those plates are attaching the muscles. Some neat stuff unique to Echinodermata are starfish, are the fact that echinoderms in general feed by everting their stomachs. What does that mean? Well, imagine you see a tasty biscuit, and you go, I'm going to eat that biscuit. And you go, whoa, and then you get your stomach to flip inside out of your mouth onto the biscuit on the plate. That is what starfish do. They flip their stomach inside out, stick it out of their body, and allow it to move around what they're eating. Starfish mostly feed on bivalves, and they use their tube feet. They have these little tube-like feet. Their feet have tentacles, not tentacles, but suckers all along them. And they can use those to stick to the shells of the bivalves, and they'll pry the shell open. Then they'll stick their stomach inside out into the inside of the clam and secrete all the acids necessary to digest the clam within its shell, and then absorb the nutrients from there, which is kind of neat. They also have the water vascular system, which is really cool. The water vascular system is absolutely unique to echinoderms, and they are water-filled canals running through the echinoderm. And they circulate water for gas exchange and waste excretion. So in us, we have blood serving that purpose. Blood goes to our lungs, where we breathe in and comes into contact with, oxygen goes through the lungs into the blood. And that's how we get oxygen into our blood. And waste excretion, our liver filters waste out of our blood. Our kidneys filter waste out of our blood. So our blood is the main thing that circulates for gas exchange and waste excretion. But in echinoderms, water circulates for gas exchange and waste excretion through the water vascular system. And it also provides hydraulic pressure. So they use water pressure to operate the little suckers on their tube feet. The tube feet are basically, when you look at a starfish and you look at that limb there, if you were to flip it over, you would see thousands of individual little suckers on a little filamentous extension. And they have a little sucker tip on each one, and all those thousands of suckers can stick to something and hold through hydraulic pressure, water pressure. So that's pretty cool. And it aids in gripping substrates, the ground that they're moving on, and it aids in gripping their prey. In the case of starfish, they eat clams, bivalves. So here's a nice close-up of those tube feet. And so there we go. I've got a lot of pictures here. So this is a close-up of a single starfish leg, and you can see all on the underside of that leg are these little tubes that are little suckers, and they stick to stuff. Here's a starfish up against glass so that you can see its legs and its tube feet better. And then in the center is its digestive system. And here we go. Here's another leg with tube feet extending outward. They can extend quite far if they flood them with water. Then this picture is a starfish that's been flipped upside down while its stomach is inside out. So this is the stomach outside the starfish's body. This is what happens when they invert their stomach. This is another starfish. Not all starfish have 5 points. A lot of them can have multiple legs. Here's a good old-fashioned 5-pointed starfish. This is a sand dollar that's dead. This is a dead sand dollar. And this is what's left of those mineral plates that make up their endoskeleton. And this is a sea urchin. Sea urchins are herbivores. They eat kelp. So, kind of neat. All right, that's the end of this video, and we'll meet up for Chordata, the final phylum of Chapter 17. Almost done, people. Keep with me.